So, you just got your first 350Z, and you want to do awesome drift things with it. You want to get sideways. You want to do crazy drifts on the track, and you want to look heck dang cool doing it.
Dang cool.
Heck dang cool. Heck dang cool doing it. But you've got an open diff or an LSD. And you can't get your car to go sideways. Why not? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys the differences between an open diff, an LSD, and a welded diff, and which Z's come with those. And then we're going to show you how the car reacts with each one. So you just found this beautiful 350Z on Facebook Marketplace, and you're thinking about buying it.
This bad boy can sound like a trumpet from 2 miles away.
But you don't know if this is the right 350Z for you, because you want to build this car into a drift car. So what are you looking for? So the first thing you need to figure out is, what year is the car? Is it an 03, 04, 05, all the way to 2008? Is it a DE, a rev up, an HR? Does it have Brembos or no Brembos? Does it have VDC or not VDC? Cruise control, no cruise control, an LSD, open diff. Some of these things might sound like Chinese to you, but I'm going to show you what you need to look for when you first buy your Z. So once you figure that out, which it's pretty simple, this is a 2003. 2003s to 2005s are pretty much the same, and 06s are half and half. Easiest way to tell is by the headlights. If you've got this big orange strip, it's a DE headlight, which usually means it's between a 03 and 05. Some 06s also come with it. Also, the DE hood, which has the two lines, it doesn't have a bubble. Another easy way to tell is your tail lights. If your tail lights are halogen and they don't have the LED dots, then it's also an 03 to 05 tail light. Then, once you figure that out, you need to pop the hood and you need to see if it's a rev-up motor, a DE, or an HR. Now, the easiest way to do that is to look at right here on the engine. As you can see, these cam seals are totally flat, which means this is a DE. It also has one air intake, which means it is a DE motor. Now, if it was a rev-up, this area right here is going to have indentions on it, which I will put a photo right here. And if it's the rev-up motor, it's okay, but I wouldn't say it would be a great motor for drifting unless the car does have low miles. If the car is an HR, it's going to be a 07 or 08, and it's going to have two air intakes. That's the easiest way to tell. That motor would be a little bit better and stronger, but is going to make less torque, but more horsepower. Personally, I like the DEs for drifting because they make the most amount of torque. Torque when drifting is a very nice thing to have, and they're a lot cheaper to work on, and the cars themselves are a lot cheaper. DEs and rev-ups do burn a little bit of oil, so be careful of that. The HRs do not. They have solved that issue, but then again, you also don't have as much torque. But regardless of what you get, make sure the motor is sound, because these things do all like to run a little low on oil. It's hard to check them, and sometimes people don't run the right amount of oil, which causes rod knock and many other issues. So make sure the motor is sound. Next thing you need to look for, and this is very important, I tell people this all the time and no one ever checks it, is you need to look at the steering wheel. Does the steering wheel have buttons on it? Does it have buttons on both sides or just on one side? Because if your car is a base model, it will not have these. And if it doesn't have these, your diff is most likely open, which is great. And we'll explain to you just a little bit later why not having these buttons on the steering wheel and having an open diff is such a great thing. You can also look for this VDC button. If you have that VDC button, that is just a little bit of extra work when you want to build your drift car, because this does have to be taken out. Now, there's a few other things to look for, like wheels. If they're 17-inch wheels, it's a base model. If it's 18-inch wheels, it's a Touring, Grand Touring, 35th anniversary, which are those wheels there. And you can also look for the Brembos. If it's got Brembos, they'll be gold and say Brembo on it. This is the Touring model, so it doesn't come with the Brembos, which is just a little bit easier when doing like dual caliper setups, because it is just a little bit cheaper. If your car comes with Brembos, that's not too bad of a thing. Of course, it'll brake better, but some of the parts will be a little bit more expensive, so that is okay. It's not that big of a deal. Now, the thing that complicates most of buying a 350Z is, what diff are you looking for? Because this isn't going to be your daily driver. This isn't going to be a car that you're building to go challenge Mustangs and Camaros on the highway. This is a car that you are trying to send at 60, 70 miles an hour sideways up against a wall, and there are certain characteristics of the diff that you are going to need. So without further ado, let's talk about diffs. So you figure it out, your car is a base model. A base model 350Z, if it is unmodified, will come with an open differential. An open diff basically means that if you're turning left, we'll just say left for now, your back left tire will be the only one actually spinning and getting power. The outside wheel, or if you're turning left the right, back right wheel, will not carry any power from the differential, which means if you are drifting to the left, this side will spin in the back, but it won't cause this side to spin, which means the car actually won't come out and won't flick the rear end out, so you won't be able to drift. And I'll put a video of what I'm talking about. Basically, the car will just kind of do a donut and smoke one tire, which is what everyone calls a one-wheel peel, a one-tire fire. It's a mess. You don't want an open diff. It is kind of boring. But there's a perk to it. If your car comes with an open differential, you can crack it open, take it out of your car, crack it open, drain the gear fluid out, clean the diff, and then all you have to do is there's a gear in the middle, which I'll put a photo right here for you guys. It's called the planetary gear. You put a plate, you weld around it, you let it cool, you spin the whole diff, and then there's an opening just like the one side on the other side, and you put a plate, weld it, put gear, ounce and a half of gear fluid in it, seal it up, put it back in the car, and now you've got a welded diff, which I'll show you a video of what that does. So an open diff is a great thing, but most 350Zs that you find are not base models. Mine, when I got it, personally was, my dad's is a Grand Touring and came with an LSD, and my brother's is a Touring and came with an LSD. Now what an LSD it does is it is a limited slip differential. What that does is, let's just go back to the same scenario. You're trying to drift left. The back left tire is going to work just like an open diff. It's going to start to spin, which is going to make you just do like a slight donut. After it realizes that the back left tire is starting to slip and lose control, it thinks like the car is losing control in the rain or whatnot, the back right tire is now going to kick in, which locks the diff and will make both tires spin at the same rate, which will allow you to drift. The problem with that is it's great for donuts, it's great for somewhat drifting a corner. However, it does take a couple seconds to lock, which I will show you a clip right here. You can see the first couple of seconds the car wouldn't really go sideways, and then once that diff locked in, the car did go sideways, no problem at all. The problem with an LSD is if you want to transition, so if you want to do like figure eights, there's no snap in between because the diff is trying to unlock and then it's trying to relock, and it's an absolute mess. So you can try to weld an LSD. A lot of people will tell you you can weld an LSD, and you can. All you have to do is crack it open and weld it, but there isn't an open gear in the middle that you can weld. You actually would have to stuff the welder inside and weld as much material as you can, but no matter how hard you try, the LSD will never be welded the same way and as strong as an open diff. Also, the gearing is a little off unless you're used to drifting on that type of gearing. I personally think that drifting on an open diff that's been welded is perfect gearing for this car. For most scenarios, you get to use second and third gear, and it's a lot stronger, so you don't have to worry about in a couple of months the diff breaking on you and then you have to do everything back over. Now that you guys have the basics of how an LSD works, how an open diff works, and how a welded diff works, now we can take the LSD out of this car and we're going to put a welded diff in it, and we're going to show you how much better this car goes sideways. Now on to my favorite one, a welded diff. Welded diffs are absolutely amazing for drifting. However, they are not great at everything. If you're daily driving your car, personally, I don't recommend daily driving it anymore because there is some things that can cause you to wreck. Driving in the rain is super sketchy. And I know a lot of you guys are gonna say, oh, I do it all the time. It's totally fine. And I did too. I used to daily drive my Z when I first got it and welded the diff, and it was okay for a little bit until I hit a couple mud puddles that were just a little too big and I was giving the car just a little bit too much gas. And yes, most cars will hydroplane, I understand that, but I've driven a lot of cars in the rain and the Z just spun right out because both back tires were spinning at the same rate and it was a mess. I didn't do any damage, but I did spin out and it's a mess. So daily driving your car with a welded diff, I personally say do not do it, even though you're gonna probably try it anyways. It's sketchy. Another bad thing about it is your back tires are gonna chirp every time you turn. Every single time. No matter which way you turn, the inside rear tire is gonna chirp and it's annoying. It eats up your tire a little bit. It really doesn't eat up your tire a lot, but it does a little. And people are gonna give you looks all the time. Dude, your car's broke. Hey man, your car's making a funny sound. When I play the maracas, I go chick chicky boom, chick chicky boom. When I start to dance, everything goes chick chicky boom, chick chicky boom. I get it all the time. I even have cops tell me that it's illegal, which it might be, who cares? But it's really, really annoying. It clunks a lot, it makes a lot of funny sounds, but if you're doing a dedicated drift build like we do, who cares? The sounds are just like music to my ears, whatever. Another crazy thing about a welded diff is if you take a corner a little too sharp, like let's just say you're making a U-turn and you step on it a little bit, the car actually will want to go sideways. Sometimes you want it to go sideways when doing it, but if there's no cops around. But sometimes the car will get a little sideways when there's maybe a cop right down the road looking at you, and you might not want that because that is considered reckless driving or careless driving in some states, and that would be an absolute mess. So that is some things you definitely want to consider when doing a welded diff. Like I said, if you're doing a dedicated drift build, go for it. It's really the only thing you're gonna wanna run, but I recommend welding an open diff and not the LSD, because if you're gonna be drifting a lot, that LSD is probably gonna break, and once it breaks and it shatters the gears and you got metal all in your diff, that's pretty much it for the differential. You're gonna wanna just get a new one anyways. So just do it right. Get an open diff. Your LSD is worth so much more than an open diff that you can do what we do. You take the LSD out and you list it on, let's just say, Facebook Marketplace or online, and you say, hey, I have an LSD, a lot of people want it, can I trade it for an open diff? And most of the time people will say, sure, absolutely. Give me that LSD and I'll give you my open diff, because most of the time people want to do a street build with these cars and they don't want to go sideways with them. They don't understand the value of an open diff to us drifters. Well, now that you see the differences of an open diff, an LSD, and a welded diff, and how the car reacts with each one of the three, you guys can make your decision based off of that. Personally, to sum it up, I recommend an open diff if you're not doing anything with the car and you just want to maybe just stance it out, put some bags on it, and just drive it normally. I recommend an LSD, definitely if you're going to be street racing, if you're going to be doing any sort of like drag racing build or like a lot of highway pulls, because it does give you a little bit more power, and off the line it's a little bit better because it locks in, but it'll drive normally in the rain. And if you're doing a dedicated drift build, 100% a welded diff that was originally an open diff and then welded. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the vlog. This has been a topic that a lot of people write me about. I get tons of DMs and tons of messages regarding, why don't you want an LSD? Why do you want an open diff? Why is a welded better than an LSD? Yada, yada, yada. And I hope this video clears a lot of that up. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to have different opinions. That is totally fine because every car does react a little bit different. Maybe a S13, S14 reacts different with a welded diff, but in Z's, that is how it will be. It is a little bit more difficult with a welded diff, and I do not recommend daily driving it. That is just my personal opinion. But thank you guys again for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the vlog. I hope this helped you guys out. If you do have any questions, just go to the comments below and leave a comment or a question, and I will, as fast as I can, answer your question. Also, if you go over to my Instagram at Smokey Drift and DM me, I will definitely respond a little bit faster on there. But if you don't have Instagram, just leave a comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys again enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video.